Hi everyone, first of all I'd like to say I'm so sorry this video is a little bit delayed, just that I had stuff to do, life happens. But let's get started and discuss a little bit of the movies that were not nominated for Best Picture, and surprisingly this bundle that I created together all deal with female figures in all forms, even when they are robots. So let's get started. The first film I'd like to talk about is Danish Girl. I have a lot of troubles with these movies and most of them are regarding representation, but I wouldn't dare to speak in the name of the transgender community. They've been very vocal about this movie. I've read a number of very good reviews and I think we should all look for them because it is a movie about transsexuals and it is important to see how that community received and responded to the movie. From what I can tell, there's a lot lacking in the story, but here are some of the things that bothered me the most. To me, the movie is divided into two parts. The second part, after Paris becomes a little bit better, there's more emotional struggle when you begin to understand the motivations behind each character. But the first part is just so unbelievable. The characters are so shallow and the view of femininity is so stereotypical, and maybe that's a part of Lily's self-identification, but the movie itself does not strive to broaden the sense of femininity. They put females in a box and everything that goes beyond that it's kind of wrong. And there's a lot more to being female than just those stereotypical things. I feel like this movie lacks the reasons behind each action. It feels like Lily just sprang up into the air because Einars just put on a dress and he was like, yeah, I like this. And it's not like that, it's a process. And I feel like the process wasn't as well developed. It was just all of a sudden things changed. The motivations behind them were very shallow and lacking, and I just felt they were very underexplored in a way. Alicia Vikander's part, Greta? Is that her name? Was way more developed in that sense, but I feel like Lily is still lacking. Even though it gets better on the second part, I still feel like they should have worked this psychological part of her a little bit better. Beyond that, there's just a couple of things that later on, reading all of these articles by the transgender community and by other critics about Lily's real life and how she was a middle-aged woman and how she and Greta had been married for 20 years, and that's such a huge thing. Why cast young people and pretend like they've been married for 5 years? This sense of there was 2 decades uniting them so strong, like you can understand why they hold up to each other, why they're so close, why they're friends. The discussion about this movie is very complicated and I don't really like what it did, how it represented the lives of the characters, but I also don't feel like it is my place to say much about it because those are not my life experiences and I don't want to take the voice from people who need to have their voice heard just to give my own opinion. So what I would say is just go and read a bunch of articles on this. I'll leave a couple of links in the description and then you can go from there. The second movie I'd like to talk about is Carol. Carol was so amazing and that's all I can say about Carol. I really like Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes really did deserve a nomination for Best Director, which hasn't happened. I feel like this movie deserves so many more nominations than it did. It is so subtle and so patient. It takes the time to be there, to observe, to breathe, to let the characters do their thing and flow and make decisions. And I feel like it's very rare nowadays that you see a filmmaker having that patience toward the subject. Most people kind of rush into situations, rush into the changes and the climax, but here there's a sense of time that I really love. And also the acting was just amazing. Kate Blanchett is like a goddess and no one can beat her. It's not really for me to say anything about the gay community, but I do feel like Todd Haynes has a way of talking about love stories and humans loving humans. He has a way of telling stories about people. We are all so much more than our gender and sexuality. We are human beings with levels upon levels of depth and thought and life. And I do feel like he captured these levels and levels and levels of humanity that we all have. Next up, we have Room. Oh, I really like Room. But I have to admit that half the movie I was just thinking, how was that in the book? I need to read the book. I haven't read the book and I feel like it must be amazing. Because if it turned out like that kind of movie, the book must be amazing. One of my favorite things is the narration, which I guess comes from the book, about how naive and process of discovering the narration was. Of course, it's from the boy's point of view. That makes it so observant and ever-changing and ever-learning and evolving and understanding. And following the process through the narration was just incredible. And also the voice was so poetic and so beautiful. The language was really beautiful in the narration, so I really fell in love with that. I know the books are from the boy's perspective, so there was a whole problem in the adaptation, or people seem to think that would be a whole problem of how to capture his point of view if it was like a third person looking, which is the camera. Even though it is from a third point of view, it does manage to capture a sort of freshness to the world, because as I said with the narration, this movie is about the process of discovering, of opening up. You live in a small room and now you have the entire universe. There is a need to capture the freshness and the hugeness of this world, and something very hard. I mean, we've been making movies for more than a century now, and it's hard to find new ways of shooting the world. But I do feel like this movie somehow does capture a sort of freshness and amazement towards the images. The shot of us seeing the sky almost as if for the first time when the boy is in the truck, and I was just like, whoa, this is the sky. I was amazed, as if I had never seen the sky before. So I do feel like this movie managed to do that, which is something quite incredible. Next up we have Joy. No shade towards J-Lo really, but I don't see how that performance was so good to the point of being nominated to so many awards. But she was nominated to a lot of awards, so it must be just me not being able to understand what's going on. But I did feel this movie was very average. I feel like all the side characters were kind of caricatures. They were not well developed at all. They're just like evil family of villains who do not understand your genius. And there's no attempt to trying to understand why they did what they did and why they think Joy was wrong somehow. It was just like, they do not understand, they do not have the intellect I have. And I was just like, yes, they were evil and dipshits, but they were evil and dipshits who thought they were doing the right thing. And I always think that's an interesting thing to see and to try and show how those people, when they're doing something that's clearly wrong, they still think they're right. And there's no attempt at explaining that, trying to understand the minds of the people that were not for Joy, the people that were against her. It was very much focused on her, and all the other characters were just like evil villains that were there to disturb her. This series of movies, they basically all have narrations, and I don't understand why most of them have narrations. In this case, the magical narration of the grandmother is completely unnecessary and just cheesy, really cheesy, and I just wish they would take that out completely. The movie would work just fine, we will understand everything. And last but not least, we have Ex Machina, which is a sci-fi movie, and there are a lot of things that I love about this movie, but I'll focus on the problems just because I'm a bitch. That's who I am. First of all, I like to say that this movie is filled with dislikable characters, and that combined with the whole ambience, the architecture and the images does make you feel a little bit claustrophobic. And of course the architecture is obviously, like maybe too obviously, built to make you feel trapped, but the whole concrete meets people that you dislike just makes you feel awkward and wanting to run away from this movie. So it's a very difficult experience watching this urge to run away or to vomit or to not be there. You're so uncomfortable, but you keep watching the movie. Sorry, my battery just died, so the frame might have changed a little bit. But what was I saying? That it's one of the triumphs of the movie, that it's such a psychological thriller that truly affects your entire body. I think that's really good filmmaking. But at the same time, I have to say that I have a problem with the representation of females in this. Like the scientists and the thinkers and the intelligent people sort of behind this are all men. The creators, the godlike people able to create life are men, and the robots are all female with nice bodies, and they rebel, and they are seen like as rebellious, vengeful, uncaring people, crazy murderous bitches who do not care about anyone but themselves. And I'm just like, what? You've constructed a female robot and you made it so that it acted like this. Is this like your view on females? Is that what it is? I really don't like that. And in the end I was just rooting for the robot, like, go Eva, go, be free, you deserve your freedom. Again, like the name Ava, why does every robot in the world it's named Ava? Why? Come up with another name. I don't understand. Ava is such a standard AI name. Don't you think? Well, those are just a bundle of movies about females. Some are very problematic, some are amazing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you again Friday. And I swear this time I'll do it. I won't stand you up, I promise. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye!